I'm pleased to have the opportunity to recognize the month of May as ALS Awareness Month. ALS is better known as Lou Gehrig's disease, Governor. It's a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It affects the nerve cells in the brain and in the spinal cord, and people only live 3 to 5 years after it's diagnosed in the normal course of affairs. So today we're designating this as ALS Awareness Month, May, in hopes that it will increase the awareness of more Americans. We need to be really vigilant about this and get some research dollars out there for this. This day of modern science, ALS still does not have the kind of progress that some of the others do, and we need to do that. So the goals of research are supported by this resolution too, and it's just a very devastating disease. So Camden, would you like to come up and say a couple of words? Anybody else there who wishes to?
Good morning.
Thank you, Governor Christ, and other members of the Cabinet for this recognition of ALS Awareness Month being the month of May. It's because of your kind consideration and your effort that we can have hope that one day we will put an end to this very devastating disease. We also need to give a special thank you to Attorney General McCollum for your support of this resolution, and also Representative Ari Porth and Senator Jeremy Ring for their support of similar resolutions in the House and the Cabinet. Like you mentioned, we're talking about amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. That's also known as ALS. You probably know it as Lou Gehrig's disease, but for 1,250 patients living in Florida, it's their disease, one they live with every day, and the one that sadly they will die with. Like you mentioned, only 3 to 5 years is what they have to live after they're diagnosed. It's a neuromuscular disease attacking the motor neurons in your brain and spinal cord. And what that causes is for the muscles to waste away until eventually these patients can no longer speak, eat, they can't move, and then the last step is that they're unable to breathe. There's no cause and there's no cure. And I'd also like to mention, since we did just recognize our veterans, that recent studies have found that military veterans are twice as likely to be diagnosed with ALS than someone who never served. We know that from studies from the Department of Defense, Harvard University, and also the VA. They have all echoed those same findings. And researchers, like you mentioned, are still trying to find out that mystery and unlock all of the clues to find out the cause and then also find a treatment. But we do know that there have been encouraging research advances, and we have reason to hope that that treatment could be just around the corner. And like I said, there's no cure yet, but there is care. I'm with the ALS Association. We're a nationwide network of 41 chapters, all dedicated to the battle of this disease. The Florida chapter, we're here to help all of the patients, like I mentioned, 1,250 living in Florida. We offer compassionate care, support groups, we fund cutting-edge research, and we also do equipment loans. Awareness is that key to fighting the disease. When the public can know and recognize the effects of Lou Gehrig's disease, it's then that they can join us in the fight against it. So as a result of this resolution, we anticipate seeing great success in more funding, more awareness, and ultimately just making another great stride toward finding a cure. We set these red awareness bracelets up at your desk, so we hope you'll wear them throughout the month and maybe even beyond, just in support of awareness. Once again, we just want to thank you for your support, and it's really support of a dream that we have at the ALS Association, and that's just a simple hope that one day we'll all live in a world without ALS. At this time, I want to introduce you to one of our advocates, Ed Court, who would like to express his appreciation, and then also to Willie Meggs, the state attorney of the Second Judicial Court, who would like to speak about one of the judges who I'm sure you all know very well, who was recently stricken with the disease.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to tell you my personal story with regard to ALS. My daughter married a very wonderful fellow when she was 44 and he was 53. That was in December of '04. They were having a wonderful time together, traveling, etc. In the spring of '05, he had a pinched nerve in his neck, he thought, and he went to a chiropractor. No results. So he went to a neurosurgeon, thinking that he needed some sort of surgery. Before the surgeon ever looked at him, just by speaking and watching him, he said, "I believe you may have ALS." He He went to a neurologist. He went to Mass General for a second opinion. That was in September '05. That was how he looked in September '05. He deteriorated very quickly. By December of '05, he couldn't raise his arms to feed himself. This is a picture. He was in a wheelchair at the ALS walk in Sawgrass Mills in April of '06. Shortly thereafter, he couldn't walk up the stairs. He was in a hospital bed at home. We had tremendous amount of hassles with insurance companies, etc., to provide in-home care. I very quickly became Larry's lugger, a 66-year-old guy lifting a 185-pound guy out of bed in the morning, into bed in the evening, on call during the day for potty calls. We had some help at home from the insurance company, but it was a hassle every month with appeals, etc. You never knew what you were going to get. We finally had to put him in a nursing home. It was difficult to get a nursing home to accept him because his needs were so labor-intensive. Vitas Hospice, which is a wonderful organization here, was very helpful. They provided some of the doctoring and nursing in the nursing home, and that combination made that happen. Here's a picture of him in July of '06. He had a voice synthesizer machine, which he really couldn't work. You have to stare at it, and he didn't have the control at that point of his neck muscles to make that work. In August '06, when he passed away, you can see the deterioration in his face. He was really an amazing fellow. Through it all, he never quit. He would be lying in bed, raising his legs very, very little, and he said to me that he's going to walk again. His smile, his ability to joke about his situation was always there and infectious. He always said, "Thank you, God bless you, I love you, always." So thank you for allowing me to share this information with you. Hopefully I've explained what happens to a patient on a personal level. It not only happens to the patient, it happens to their families, their caregivers. It is often devastating, not only mentally, physically, and financially. We need insurance companies to step up. We need nursing homes to step up. We need awareness so that these things can happen. Thank you very much.
Willie Meggs. I have the privilege of being the friend to Judge Tim Harley. We were in law school together. We worked together as assistant state attorneys. We worked together when I became state attorney. Judge Bush, in his wisdom, appointed him judge. And in the last couple of years, we started noticing that Tim was having a little difficulty speaking. Now, I personally thought that's just what happens to judges. They kind of begin to lose it. But and Tim was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. And the tragedy of this disease is Tim still has his sense of humor. We can still talk, we still laugh, but he can't speak well anymore. He's beginning to fall. Tim is a brave, wonderful person. He couldn't be here today because he's in Washington, D.C. talking about Lou Gehrig's disease to Congress. And so it's such a tragedy to be able to look into his face and know that Tim is there, but he can't express himself like he used to. And Tim knows the end result. And he still has his sense of humor. We still kid with him that he's not coherent anymore. And he never was, is what we always tell him, but he laughs about that. So it's just such a waste to see the mind still there, but the body and the functions not able to be there. So thank you for doing this, and I just hope, and my prayer is that there will develop a cure for this dread disease because it is so devastating to so many. Thank you very much.
Thank you.